What if your lands weren't just lands? What if every creature in your deck suddenly became mana? What if your commander quietly turned your board into a combo engine without ever having to say the word combo? This is Nicole RN with Commander on Call, and today we're diagnosing Magic the Gathering Commander Ashaya, Soul of the Wilds. This is episode 1 of Deck Diagnosis, where we break down not just what a deck does, but how it functions, why it works, and whether the deck build is actually healthy. So let's clock in and find out. Ashaya is a 3/3 legendary elemental creature whose power and toughness are equal to the number of lands that you control. But that's not really why we're here. Her real text, the important part, reads, "Non-token creatures you control are forest lands in addition to their other types." That single line right there is the entire operating system of this deck. But what does that mean clinically? Well, every creature taps for green. Every creature is now a land. Every landfall trigger you have sees every creature entering. Every one of your creatures. Every land untapper is now a creature untapper. Ashaya doesn't just ramp you, she changes the rules of the entire game. And that's where this deck's core strategy begins. Let me start by giving a couple disclaimers. First, the deck that I'm going to diagnose is my own personal deck that I've built and that I play. And second, it's pretty much bracket 4 due to the infinite combos. There aren't any game changer, but your girl loves combos. So it can be toned down or up, but Rule 0 conversations here are important. When you build Ashaya, there are 3 primary approaches. There's fair landfall value, there's mono green stompy with ramp redundancy, and there's a combo-centric engine build. This list is clearly in the 3rd category. As a combo player at heart, I appreciate this direction, but the key is whether the combo package integrates cleanly within the shell. This deck runs a relatively high creature count, tends to be around 35 to 40 creatures, and that's not an accident. It's because creatures equal lands in this deck. Your Viridian Corruptor is now a forest. Your Yiva Nature's Herald, forest. Your utility creatures, forests. What this does is this helps to create your ramp redundancy. It gives you your explosive scaling. It gives you protection against traditional land destruction or non-land board wipes like Cyclonic Rift. It also means that creature-based board wipes become devastating, which is one of the deck's major vulnerabilities, which we'll come back to in a little bit. Combos. Combo number 1. Ashaya and Quirion Ranger or Scrib Ranger. You have both Quirion Ranger and Scrib Ranger. They can both return a forest that you control to your hand to untap a creature once per turn. Because they themselves are forests, you can tap any creature for a green mana, except for the Quirion Ranger or Scrib Ranger, and activate Quirion Ranger by returning itself from the battlefield to your hand, untapping the creature that you used to tap for mana. Use that mana to cast Quirion Ranger, and that nets you infinite ETBs, infinite landfall, infinite LTBs, and infinite storm. You can also use a mana dork that taps for multiple mana with the Quirion Ranger or the Scrib Ranger. This deck happens to run Circle of Dreams Druid, Karametra's Acolyte, and Priest of Titania in order to net infinite mana. You can use the infinite cast triggers for this deck's Beast Whisperer or Zendikar Resurgent for infinite draw. You can use Silverback Elder to destroy artifacts, enchantments, or to get all the lands from your library, or to gain infinite life. Combo 2. Ashaya and Argothian Elder, or Ley Weaver, or Corrosion Restorer, assuming you have 7 or more cards in your graveyard. You activate your Argothian Elder, Ley Weaver, or Corrosion Restorer by tapping it to untap itself, since it's a land, and any other land. Tap the other land, adding mana, rinse and repeat. That'll give you infinite mana, infinite untap of non-token creatures you control, infinite untap of lands you control. Easy. Combo number 3. Staff of Domination and one of the mana dorks I said earlier, Priest of Titania, Circle of Dreams Druid, Karametra's Acolyte. Tap the mana dork for at least 5 mana. Activate the Staff of Domination's third ability by paying 3 and tapping it, untapping the mana dork. Activate Staff of Domination's first ability by paying 1, untapping it, and repeat. That gives infinite mana, infinite card draw, infinite life gain. Next, we have combo number 4. Ashaya, Magus of the Candelabra, and one of those mana dorks. Tap the dork, producing at least 3 mana. Activate Magus of the Candelabra by paying 2, tapping it, untapping the dork, and repeat. That'll give you infinite mana and infinite untap of your non-token creatures. This one also works with Nissa, who shakes the world, in lieu of a mana dork by tapping 2 forests, adding 4 green mana thanks to Nissa, activate Magus by paying 3, tapping it, untapping the 2 lands and Magus, and then repeat. Combo number 5. Magus of the Candelabra, Nissa who shakes the world, or Zendikar Resurgent, and then Staff of Domination. Tap 5 forests to add 10 green mana. Activate Magus of the Candelabra by paying 5 and tapping it, untapping the 5 forests. Activate Staff of Domination's third ability by paying 3 and tapping it, untapping Magus. Activate Staff's first ability, tapping 1 to untap it, and repeat. You now have infinite mana to use your staff for all of its staffy glory. Combo number 6. Ashaya, Magus of the Candelabra, Zendikar Resurgent, or Nissa who shakes the world. Tap 2 forests to add 4 mana. Activate your Magus by paying 3, tapping it to untap the 2 lands and Magus. Repeat. Congratulations, you have infinite mana again. Combo 7. Ashaya, Ashnod's Altar, and Toth the Blind Bandit, Badger Mole, or Earth Kingdom General. Cast one of those 3 earthbending creatures. When it enters, have it earthbend itself because it's a land. Sacrifice it to Ashnod's Altar, adding 2 colorless mana to your mana pool. When that creature dies, the earthbend triggers, returning itself from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. When it enters, have it trigger itself with its earthbending ability because it's a forest, and sacrifice it to the altar again, and repeat. This results in infinite colorless mana, landfall, ETB, LTB, sacrifice, and death triggers. Combo number 8. This one is probably my favorite of all the ones that I have in this deck. And it's exactly the same one as before, but you switch out the Ashnod's Altar with the Altar of Dementia. Instead of getting infinite mana, you just mill all of your opponents out and win the game. I win. Game over. In combo 9, I saved the most complicated one for last. Springheart Nantuko, a landfall card, and a creatureable land. Creatureable is a word, just don't look it up. For this example, I'm going to use Springheart Nantuko, Tireless Provisioner, and Blink Moth Nexus. But you can use Lotus Cobra or Nissa Resurgent Animist for the landfall, or an Earthbent land creature for the land. So here we go. Tap Blink Moth Nexus, adding 1 colorless mana to your mana pool. Use that mana to activate Blink Moth Nexus's second ability, turning it into a 1/1 artifact creature with flying until end of turn. Cast Springheart Nantuko, using its Bestow ability, attaching it to Blink Moth Nexus, giving the Blink Moth Nexus landfall. Whenever a land enters, you may pay 1 and a green to create a token copy of the creature Springheart Nantuko is attached to. If you don't create a token this way, create a 1/1 green insect creature token. You don't really care about that last part. Next, you play a land. When the land enters, it's going to trigger Springheart and Tireless Provisioner, both of their landfall triggers. And then you're going to resolve the Tireless Provisioner first, creating a treasure token. You're going to crack that treasure, adding 1 green mana to your mana pool. Resolve the Springheart Nantuko trigger, paying 1 and that green mana to make a copy of Blink Moth Nexus. When the Blink Moth Nexus token enters, Tireless Provisioner and Springheart Nantuko both trigger. Holding priority, tap the new Blink Moth Nexus token for 1 colorless mana. Repeat from step 6 when you made the treasure. Woof. That gives you infinite landfall triggers and infinite tapped copies of a specific land. If you missed any of that, I'm going to put all those combos into the description of the video because even I struggled to follow that one. But now that we did those combos, how do we win with them? Only one of them actually winded the game. So if we don't win with Altar of Dementia, we can still make it pretty hard to get taken out of the game with the infinite life gain from our Staff of Domination. Our Tifa Lockhart can become an enormous trampler with a few landfall triggers, which can happen at instant speed if we use Earthbending and the Ashnod's Altar. 7 million Scoot Swarm tokens can take out another opponent pretty easily too, along with the army of 4/4 Beast tokens we get from the Rampaging Baloth landfalls. And in a pinch, our Perilous Vault will exile all non-land permanents, so if all of our creatures are lands, we can keep our board and take away everybody else's. The important question in deck diagnosis isn't, is it powerful? It's, is the combo compact? Is it redundant? And is it resilient? This build scores high. This build with Ashaya, it scores high on compactness. Its resilience is medium because if you remove Ashaya, the whole metabolism slows down. here's where mono green decks often struggle. If Ashaya is removed twice, Commander Tax becomes real. This deck is a glass cannon that relies on Ashaya. If our board is wiped, you can find yourself in a seriously dangerous position. You've lost your creatures. Functionally, you've lost your lands and your ramp, and that's hard to come back from. So what does a healthy Ashaya deck need? It needs protection spells, instant speed interaction, and recovery engines. It needs cards like Heroic Intervention, Tyvar's Stand, and Gaia's Gift. These cards aren't optional, they're life support. If your deck skimps here, the deck becomes fragile, and that's a structural red flag. And I run none of them. Instead, I opted for the classic Swiftfoot Boots and Lightning Greaves. I use Sapling Nursery. Not only do I get a 3/4 Treefolk token with Reach for every landfall, but for 1 and a green, I can exile that enchantment to give all my Treefolk and Forests, which all of my non-token creatures are, indestructible until end of turn. I also run Archetype of Endurance to grant all of my creatures hexproof and to remove that keyword from my opponent's creatures. Giant Ink Egg, I'm probably saying that wrong. Let me know how it's pronounced down below because I'm fairly confident that I butchered it. Gives all of my creatures Ward 2. The backside of the Legend of Kyoshi gives my lands trample and hexproof. And Seraph, the Viper's Fang, gives my tapped creatures hexproof. Did y'all know that lands can tap whenever they want, even if Split Second is on the stack? I also run redundancy on top of my redundancy for my combos. Most every piece has at least one piece that can take the same role if it's removed to where I can't get it back. So here's how the deck likes to play. The early game, I ramp where I can. I get out my protection pieces where I can, and get out those utility lands like Blinkmoth Nexus. In the middle game, I try to establish my untapped loops, get that infinite mana that I can use for my other turns, and slam my infinite combos if it is safe to do so. If the game makes it to the late game, that's when I do my combo finish, if I haven't gotten to do it yet. That's when I'll Perilous Vault the opposing boards, or when I'll swing with massive token armies, or use Nissa Ascended Animist's ultimate. One thing that I like about this deck, it doesn't look threatening at first. It appears like a mono green ramp, and then suddenly you're demonstrating a loop. And Avatar, the set, made it even more fun with earthbending. And then the table says, wait, what? This deck rewards patience, and it punishes sloppy play. And it absolutely demands that you understand timing. Your combo pieces are fragile, so it's important to hold on to them until the time is right. So what's the final verdict? Ashaya combo is explosive, synergistic, and compact. But it's a commander-dependent glass cannon, vulnerable to board wipes, and it can be linear if overbuilt towards combo. If it's tuned properly, This has a high bracket deck that can hang in optimized pods without feeling like CEDH. And honestly, it's one of Mono Green's cleanest combo shells. And that's today's deck diagnosis, the first of many for this channel. If you enjoyed my breakdown, let me know what commander you want to see examined next. I'm leaning towards Chatterfang. That's probably my favorite deck that I play, but let me know. Was this Ashaya list healthy, or does it need a second opinion? I linked this deck to my Archidect in the description below. What changes would you make? Would you want to play against me using this one? I'd love to hear your opinions. And if you enjoyed this and want to see more content like it, hit those like and subscribe buttons somewhere down there. They all look lonely. I'm Nicole RN, and I'll see you next time for another deck diagnosis. Now, clock out and go home.